Hey guys, it's Joel. Before I begin, I just want to apologize for the kind of roughshod nature of the video as well as the horrendous state of my room. But there's a lot of cool stories that I have, and people have always told me, oh, you should make videos about these, and I've considered it but never did it. And I figured that with this being Halloween week, I wanted to try and do that. And before I tell some of the really, really cool ones, I wanted to set up some context. So, this story is kind of the preliminary story that started a whole bunch of things when I was a student at Florida State. So, I did my undergraduate at Florida State University from 2001 to 2005. And for the second semester of my sophomore year, I was a resident assistant at Divinity Hall. Divinity just got demolished, so that way they could rebuild it in a different format, which I think is stupid. Like, how do you demolish a building and then rebuild it? It's not the same building. Whatever. Anyway, so Divinity had 7 stories, and I was the RA of the 5th floor. And so, like I said, I came in January, and Divinity was a weird building. It was actually a really cool building, but the basement was kind of creepy. You see, from the first floor there was this big room, and you could go down this set of stairs just off to the side. And if you go down those stairs, then you come to a little hallway, and to the right hand side would be a big common area where people, I think there were pool tables and different things that you just chill out there. There was a TV and stuff like that. But if you went to the left down the hallway, there was a bathroom, and then you kind of hit the corridor that led to the elevators, and you could also take the elevators down. But that was a much creepier place, and there's really no reason to go down there unless you needed to use the vending machines. And what made it so creepy was that along the hallways, they had kind of the janitorial area, and it was a storage space, but it wasn't really rooms. Instead of walls, they had like fencing. Like really durable fencing, but it was fencing, and so those rooms were usually kept dark at night, or during the day, anytime. The rooms were kept dark, but it was just fencing. So you're walking down this corridor, and it would just be darkness, to either side of you. So that's creepy. And as an RA, whenever you're on duty, you had to do a couple of rounds, a series of rounds throughout the night to just make sure everything was okay. And I don't know about other people, but I would usually skip the basement, or if I did the basement, I would just kind of like do real quick, just, all right, it's there, whatever, and not really go down that hallway. Or if I ever did have to go down the corridor, from the lounge area to the elevator area, I just look straight ahead. Just look straight ahead, don't pay attention, don't look to the left or right, you never know what you'll see in the darkness. But anyway, so this one night, I'm doing my rounds, and I guess I was feeling braver than other times or whatever, because I go down the hallway and, get to the elevator lobby, and then I actually continued, because it was like maybe another room width of hallway, that led to the door of the boiler room, which was always locked. You never needed to go into the boiler room. But it led to the boiler room, and then on the left-hand side was like a floor sink drainage area for mops and stuff. And then there was a door to the right-hand side. And I remember that I got there, and I saw the door, and in marker it had written on it, like a caution, do not touch, like electrical hazard or something like that. And I just remember at the time that I couldn't remember having seen that door before. And so, side note, P.S., I have this habit that when I'm, when I'm walking around, I reach out, I touch things, I jiggle handles and stuff like that. So this was no different. Like, before I could even think about what I was doing, I reach out and I turn the doorknob to this, caution electrical hazard door. And lo and behold, it turns and it opens. So I open this door, and this whoosh, this whoosh of air comes out at me and just like breezes past me, and so I freak out, and I look inside this room. I just open it enough to look inside this room, And there's a movie, The House on Haunted Hill, where they go, there's this group that they go for the wife's birthday or something like that. And it's an old asylum and everything and whatever. At the end of the movie, the wife, she's a bitch. She gets knocked into a wall, and she falls into this room where all the evil spirits were being trapped. And it was this room like walled in brick, and there were piles of ash all around, and that's where the shadows were. I walked into that room, or I looked into that room. I opened the door to that room. So that was creepy. So of course I did the first thing, that came to mind. I called my buddy and coworker Ashley. She lived on the third floor, and so I called her and I was like, "Hey, Ashley, I need you to come down here. Come take the elevator down to the basement." So she comes down. She sees and she's like, "Joelle, what the hell? What is this?" I said, "I don't know. I just tried the handle, and it opened." And so she's like, "Well, you know what we have to do?" I said, "Yeah." So we called our boss, Kristen. And so he said, "Kristen, come down to the basement." And she lived on the first floor. So Kristen comes down and she opens, she comes down, she sees us, and she's like, "What's going on?" And so we showed her that I opened the door, and she's like, "What the hell, Joelle?" And I was like, I don't know what happened. And she said, "No, you don't understand. We don't have a key for this door. This door was locked, and we don't have a key for it." She said that she and the hall manager, the one who was in charge of the custodians, they had both been trying their master keys, so the residential master keys and the custodial maintenance facilities master keys, and they didn't have a key that opened that door. But I just walk up and turn the knob. So of course, Kristen turns to me and she's just like, "Hey, you open the door. Now you need to walk in." So that was my punishment. She made me go in and kind of just stomp around. Not really stomp, but you had to, because it was all dirty trash and ash and everything. And she made me go into the room and like take a circuit around the room as my punishment. And it was so creepy. I mean, there's, like I said, these piles of ashes and even some trash and stuff. And it turns out we think that was like the incinerator room or part of the boiler room, furnace room, if nothing else. And it had been sealed off when we no longer needed that, in the building when the air system got upgraded. So at the end of that, when my punishment was completed, we closed the door and went our separate ways. I find out later, she calls me to her office a couple of days later, and she tells me that, she went back down there the next day to try and, to tell Angie, the hall manager, about it, and the door was locked. So they couldn't really explain what had happened, but ever since then, since that night that I opened that door, and so Kristen always tells me that I let the evil spirits loose in the building, or maybe not evil spirits, but I let the spirits loose in the building, because ever since then, after that, there were a whole bunch of weird things that started happening. And so I wanted to tell that story because that's the story that kind of, I guess, sets up the other things that happened. Just some quick stuff, people started talking about how things would disappear from their rooms and show up in other people's rooms. There would be sounds and stuff like that, furniture moving and whatnot. But there's a couple of really cool, well, I say cool now, but really weird things that happened after that, directly to me and to my friends. So, yeah, so this story right here is important to know, so that way, you kind of get the context for the rest of it. But stay tuned. I'll try and have the other stories up in the next couple of days, right? This one wasn't that scary. It wasn't that creepy. It probably wasn't even that interesting, but like I said, it sets up everything else. All right? We'll see you guys soon.